Hi. In the 10 seconds it took for me to start speaking, somewhere in the world, a person loses their life due to water-related diseases caused by contaminated water. And in South Africa, at least 500,000 liters of sewage is flowing into our rivers, streams, dams, beaches. 500,000 is about 1/5 of an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Now that doesn't sound so much, right? But if we take the amount of water we have to drink on Earth and put it into perspective, if I have a bucket, that will be filled with salt water, and that accounts for 97.5% of our water. If I take a cup next to the bucket, that's our fresh water. Part of that is in groundwater, part of that is in glaciers and icebergs, so it's frozen. What that leaves for you and me to drink is equivalent to a teaspoon. So we don't have a lot of water to waste or pollute. Our water resources are under immense pressure. South Africa is a water-scarce country, and we all know that. It's said so often, but do we really believe it? We will not have enough water to meet demand by 2025, let alone 2030 SDG goals. According to UNICEF, a change in climate is primarily felt through a change in water. And we're seeing that, right, in South Africa. Last year, we had one part of our country experiencing damaging floods and rains, and another part of the country going through the worst drought ever. Did you know that almost half of our drinking water systems in South Africa is not drinkable? That means in many parts of South Africa where you go, you cannot drink that water from the tap. This was never the case before. We have sewage pollution, pollution from mines, agriculture, pharmaceuticals, and the list goes on. Our river ecosystems are gasping. They are dying as we speak, with more than half of them threatened. And to top it all off, we have a failing infrastructure. 44% of good drinking water, you know that teaspoon, in South Africa, is lost to leaks. And that is compounded by weak municipalities, poor leadership, mismanagement, and yes, corruption. What is the result of all of this? Is that we have intermittent supply. In fact, yesterday someone said, as I was speaking, they had no water where they lived. The deteriorating water quality, it's a reality. And then in many, many cases, the complete lack of access to water. So, South Africa already has a water crisis. We don't have to wait for it. But it could become far worse than the energy one that we know. With load shedding, how many people have backups? They already know. Here's a light, solar light. Some people have wind energy. What is the alternative for water? There's none. The water crisis is not just a matter of inconvenience. It is a threat to people's health, life, and dignity. And it affects everyone. It is far-reaching. For households, it means unreliable access for drinking, cooking, cleaning, sanitation. And we've heard about this. For the schoolgirl, it means missing school when she's menstruating because there's no sanitation or water at her school. For farmers, it means reduced agricultural productivity. For the economy, increase costs and reduce growth, and for society as a whole, and we're seeing this rising up, heightened inequality and social tension. We cannot ignore that this affects us all. Now, we all know water is a human right. It's recognized as a basic human right by the United Nations. And I'm very proud that in our Constitution, it guarantees the right to everyone to have access to sufficient water. It is integral to achieving SDG 6, which aims to ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. Despite this global commitment, though, we are falling far short in making this right a reality for all South Africans. But if you ask officials and government, the statistics tell a different story, and I'm sorry to bombard you with a little bit of statistics. You will hear that 93% of South Africans have access to water supply, and 76% have access to basic sanitation. But the actual reality paints a very different picture. Almost 3,500 schools are still using pit latrines. For those of you who don't know, a pit latrine is literally a hole dug in the ground and a makeshift seat put on top. It's not safe. People and young people have lost their lives. Less than half of all households obtain their water from a tap inside their home. Let's flip that. More than 50% of our country do not get their water from a tap in their home. And at least 9% depend on rivers and streams and wetlands. That 9% has to deal with the 500,000 liters of sewage that's flowing into our rivers. So water access is completely about power and control. The term having access is misleading and does not reflect people's experiences of having long and unaccounted for water interruptions, broken systems, or actually just no systems at all. The result is that people's anger is rising, and rightfully so, even in the heart of suburbia. A couple of weeks ago, I was involved in organizing a protest in one of Joburg's affluent areas. And at this protest, someone took out a speaker, because it's an affluent area, so it wasn't toy-toying, took out a speaker and started playing Tyler's song, Water. So of course, the anger from banging empty boxes and whatever turned to dancing and singing. The social media post of the protest and the song went viral. And that was fantastic. But then that afternoon, a journalist called me to ask me why did we play that song, and whether I knew that that song has sexual connotations. Seriously? The focus of that protest was on the real issue. It was on the critical need for water access and management. It was not about the sexual connotation of the song. And if we don't start reporting water as we need it, as an urgent crisis, we are in a boat to nowhere. The protest happened because of intermittent supplies for 2 years, and then finally 9 days of absolute no water. This was yet another expression of the growing frustration being felt by diverse communities in South Africa. So can it be fixed? It sounds disastrous. The truth is, we will not be able to fix it, to fix our challenges, if we use the same thinking and actions that have caused it. We need creative, new ways of thinking and acting if we are to find justice in an unjust system. In the intro, I was introduced as someone that's been an activist for 20 years, an environmental justice activist. And 20 years ago, I joined an environmental justice organization. I was this wide-eyed science graduate. I was going to use science and figure things out. The organization I joined was dealing with air pollution and air quality. And they were working with different communities who were facing industries with high levels of pollution. So at one of the meetings, communities went to these companies and said, we have air pollution, you are causing it, we need to do something about it. The companies that were there were two very big companies, said, it's not us, it's you. It's your home fires, you causing the pollution. These people went back with the NGO, and they then started using citizen science, which I didn't know the term at the time, to monitor air quality. They used a bucket, a bicycle pump, and a specialized bag. Now you're talking to a scientist. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, what? Really? Are we going to get results? And they did. The bags were sent to laboratories. So the next meeting with the companies, they were again going to say, home fires, it's your fault. And they put the laboratory results, which showed high levels of industrial pollution. And what happened? The companies started blaming each other. So for me, it was that changed my mindset. I needed to figure out, how do we do this around water? How do we find a citizen science kit that can get everybody to test their water? Surely this is possible. At that time, it was completely expensive. 10 years later, we have that. We have a kit where you, in your home, can test your water. Rural areas can test their rivers and streams, and it's working in South Africa. We are doing it, and we're building a network of activist citizen science. So that is one solution that I want to give to you. We all have a role to play. And some of that role will be uncomfortable. So let's be honest. For the middle-class households, a solution, it means considering a move to public pools, not a pool in every house in one street. We don't have the water anymore. For the youth, it means becoming water warriors. Be on the ground and the streets. Raise your voices. People will listen to you. For the farmers and industry, it means adopting more efficient water use practices and collaborating on real solutions. Take the lead. Stop using the chemicals that are banned in other parts of the world and bringing it into South Africa to pollute our land and our water. For government, it means much more transparency and the will to hold all polluters accountable and to make government work for everyone. So no more pit latrines, no more water tankers. There has to be equality in water supply. And for society, you can also make a difference. Becoming active citizens. Plot that leak, plot burst pipes, empowering communities, and driving the change we want to see. We simply have to work together. Business, government, civil society, all sectors, intergenerational, to turn the tide on this water crisis, to ensure every person, regardless of where they are, where they live, enjoys their basic right to water. Because right now, water is fast becoming like a privilege for a few. This has to change. We all have a responsibility towards ensuring that water is not just a basic right. It's a fundamental right for everyone. Thank you.